Hello. So I am repurposing a tumbler today. I just showed you the white spray paint that I used over top of a sanded down, just old tumbler that I had never decorated before. It was just plain and felt like it needed a facelift. So sanded it down just a little bit and spray painted it, let it dry for couple of hours. I'd say minimum 1 hour, maximum infinity. Doesn't really matter. So I'm just mixing up some resin. I always mix up more than I need for this particular project because I always can find a reason to use the leftover resin, such as making a coaster or two. So I believe I'm trying to show you how much. I believe I have 60 milliliters, which I don't need all of that for this cup. This is a 30-ounce tumbler, so I should need roughly 30 milliliters. So I am splitting up the resin into three parts. One is going to be the majority, which is white, and I am using that resin dye. It's like a concentrated alcohol ink. I've actually since purchased resin, like resin paste, I guess. But this works perfectly fine. I used up the last of my resin dye, so I'm just now adding some white alcohol ink. And I really just wanted kind of a milky white resin. I knew I didn't want clear, and I knew I didn't have to worry too much about it being opaque just because the background of the cup is white. So I needed a little bit of resin in a separate cup for black, and you'll see what I do with that. And then an even smaller amount in a different cup for the gold leaf. This tumbler was inspired by Sherry Vegas, and I'll post the link to her video in the description. She is much more refined than I am in her resin knowledge and skills. But I really liked the kind of clean, natural feeling to this tumbler because I'm just showing you how I'm splitting up the rest of the resin there. A lot of the tumblers that you see online, and certainly the ones that I've made, have been super duper colorful, which there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. But I liked how, kind of minimalistic this one was. So gold leaf, kind of like glitter, has a mind of its own. And I had like a whole bunch stuck to the outside of my container. So I decided to use that. As you put it into your resin cup, you'll want to tear it up. But don't worry too much about it because as you stir it in, it breaks up even more. You just don't want giant clumps of it. Now, I mixed up way too much of that gold leaf with the resin, and I also mixed up way too much of the black. Even though it looks like a small amount, you really only need a very small amount for this tumbler. So I don't think I put it on camera, but I never waste my resin, so I end up pouring the extra into a coaster mold and turn it into a coaster. So I'm just showing you there that I'm mixing up the gold leaf into the resin. So you kind of want the black resin, which, by the way, I think I forgot to say. I used a black alcohol ink to dye it, and it actually became more like a dark gray, which I was not mad about at all. But you want the black and the gold leaf to kind of sit to the side for a while, because A, you need to put the white down first, as I'm doing right now. But B, you want it to harden up a little bit, meaning you want it to warm up and start to cure because once you put those down on the white, you don't want them to move a whole lot, which is totally counterintuitive to all the other tumblers I've ever made. I've always wanted the colors to move around a lot, but not with this one. So just making sure the tumbler is completely covered with that sort of milky white resin base. Now, because my tumbler does not have like an edge at the top, a stainless steel border, if you will, I am taking that resin all the way up to the top, and you may have noticed, oh, I was just showing you, I was struggling with my gloves. And if anybody knows, once you start sweating in those gloves, if you try to take them off and then put on a fresh pair, it is difficult. But anyway, I was swiping in the direction toward the top of the cup only, not swiping back down, because then the resin might get inside the cup. All right, so I torched, dripped down a little bit of gold alcohol ink, and then now I'm going in with the black. So I am just taking my little half popsicle stick and drizzling very lightly the black resin in a diagonal pattern. Doesn't have to be perfect. I'm gonna play around with it, manipulate it a little bit. So it doesn't have to be perfectly perfect at this stage. And a little goes a long way. So I end up putting on quite a bit. I probably could have stopped at like 75%. But this was my first shot at it, and it didn't turn out bad at all. I just know that I could have put less. Less is more with these cups. So I am taking my popsicle stick and I am just running it lightly through any of those blobs. Kind of look like tadpoles. We don't want tadpoles on our cup. So just running my popsicle stick through there, torching a little bit, mainly just to get the bubbles. And then I'm taking the gold leaf, and for this cup, I decided to kind of dot the gold leaf anywhere there was gold alcohol ink. And then I'm taking my popsicle stick and kind of swiping it through in that diagonal pattern. I'll show you toward the end of this video. I end up doing it a little bit differently the next time when I made 2 more of these. And I ended up just I skipped the gold alcohol ink altogether, and I just ran the gold leaf through the black only. So I torched just to get rid of the air bubbles. I probably should have just sprayed with isopropyl alcohol, which I also do. And here we go with the coaster. I'm not going to show you. It didn't end up turning out very good, but anyway. You also want to make sure that you change the direction of the spin of the turner, the cup turner, just because you want the swirls. You really don't want swirls a whole lot, but you certainly don't want them all in the same exact direction either. So, right, I think right here I switched the direction. I also decided to turn the cup upside down. Again, didn't want too much movement. I don't think I overheated the resin at all, but it does look like I'm torching a lot. All right, so here it is the next day, I believe, or at least 4 hours later. And I just mixed up some clear just to give it a final coat. And that's all this thing is getting. And it just turned out beautiful. I will show it to you shortly, fully dried and in the sunlight. But I'm putting on approximately 30 milliliters. Again, it's a 30-ounce cup, generally 30 milliliters. Trying not to let it drip off as I go. But I'm not a very patient person, so I like to just pour it on there and then catch it with my hand and then let it kind of spread out. Making sure to cover the bottom. And then what I was trying to explain earlier is I go in that upward motion toward the top. I don't push the resin downward from the top. I know it looks like I am because this is so sped up, but the pressure of my hand is only going in that upward motion because I don't want the resin to go inside the cup. I don't have it taped off at all because again, there's no border at the top. So I'll get this nice clear coat on. I will probably torch it a few times just to get those air bubbles out and then let it fully cure for minimum 24 hours. I usually let them spin. It depends on how many projects I have going on, but I'll let them spin for at least 4 hours and then fully cure. So here it is outside and it's beautiful. The black turned more like a dark gray because it did kind of blend into the white, but that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted it to look like marble with gold throughout. So I was very happy with it. And then here's 3 cups, but the middle one was a second attempt. And then here's my third attempt. And I was just so happy with it. I kind of dialed back the gold, like I said, and didn't put as much black. And I just love them. So thank you for watching. Bye-bye.